r/AskReddit, who had the biggest fall from grace in history? Philippe Petain was a national hero of France after World War I. He won the 9-month Battle of Verdun as a general and inspired hope and optimism at a time when it seemed like the war would never end. Fast forward to World War II and he became the head of state of Vichy France and was a puppet for the Nazis. He ran Vichy state in a semi-fascist manner and constantly sought to appease the Nazis to preserve Vichy's limited freedoms, including signing anti-Semitic ordinances and allowing deportation to concentration camps. At the end of the war, he was convicted of treason on all counts and originally sentenced to death before being reduced to life imprisonment by Charles de Gaulle on account of Petain's advanced age and service during World War I. De Gaulle would later summarize Petain's life as successively banal, then glorious, then deplorable, but never mediocre, and also the Marshal is a great man who died in 1925. The trouble is, he didn't know it. Jimmy Seville. Mega famous UK radio DJ and TV presenter. Did a ton of charity work. Was a knight of the realm. Post-death, he was revealed to be a massive pedophile, protected and ignored by those around him for decades. Edit, Seville not Seville. Bill Cosby. Most people are talking like the last decade, but Mary I of England came to my mind first. Overcame huge threats and obstacles to her right to the throne, because she had the support and love of the people. She defeated the attempted coup, ascended to the throne, showed mercy to the traitors, etc. Then promptly married an unpopular foreigner and tried to force everyone to follow her religion. If they didn't, they got burned alive. Then hubby skipped town anyway, and Mary slowly lost her marbles, and Calais, and kept burning people alive. History tends to remember her younger half-sister Elizabeth I a bit more favorably. Edit, OMG, what have I done? My friends, Tudor history is awesome, and dramatic, and insane, and fucking tragic, and very well documented by multiple contemporary sources. Go check it out. 100 years of more drama than you can imagine. For those saying Elizabeth killed more for religion than Mary did, here's someone who did some, sourced. Quick and dirty math. https://allthingsRobertDudley. WordPress.com/2019/02/21/ Did good Queen Bess kill more people for religion than Bloody Mary / Also, Mary did all her executions over the space of her 5-year reign. Elizabeth I reigned for 45 years and still managed to execute fewer people. I am still sympathetic to Mary I, her life fucking sucked for about 1,000 reasons. Important update here. User/u/Keith1USF has pointed out that Mary died on this day, November 17, 1558. I'm pretty sure we all need to go into the nearest bathroom, close the door, turn off the lights and say Bloody Mary 3 times. And just, hope for the best. Icarus. Jimmy Seville, if you allow for posthumous falls from grace. Let me paint you a picture. Here is the ultimate working class boy made good. He worked as a coal miner during the Second World War. Once that was over, he tried a number of things. He was a professional wrestler for a while, lost every match, was a pioneer DJ, he essentially invented the job, and hosted a primetime TV show well into his 70s based on the premise of fulfilling outlandish dreams for kids. In his spare time, he worked as a volunteer porter at his local hospital and ran marathons, raising millions of pounds for charities, attracting a slew of honors. And while he may have been a bit eccentric, he was widely regarded as a national treasure. That is, until a couple of years after he died. Turns out Jimmy had a thing for young girls. Quite a thing, as it happens, he made Bill Cosby look like the angel Gabriel. We are talking one step below wandering around the TV studios where he worked with a 12-year-old latched onto his penis. He'd got away with it precisely because of his public persona, he successfully persuaded almost all the girls he abused that nobody would ever believe them. Benedict Arnold, hero general of the American Revolution. One of George Washington's best assets. Felt slighted and overlooked by his contemporaries. Switched sides to the British, made no difference to the war effort. Died in disgrace in England. His name is now a synonym for traitor. Edit. Since this is getting some attention, for anyone interested in learning more about the man, I highly recommend watching Benedict Arnold, A Question of Honor, a TV movie from 2003. Starring Aidan Quinn as Arnold and Kelsey Grammer as Washington. Harvey Weinstein. He was Hollywood when he got outed for the POS he is, but this guy produced, just naming the top 3, The Lord of the Rings trilogy, 2, every Tarantino movie except Hollywood, and 3, Good Will Hunting and, subsequently, about every Damon or Affleck project from that time to his downfall. He's won more Oscars than any person could ever dream and has made more money off films than maybe anyone ever. That guy. Oh man. I think he fell the furthest, the hardest, and the fastest. Well deserved though. Well fucking deserved. Roses are red, violets are glorious, don't try to surprise. Oscar Pistorius. Fritz Haber. A German chemist and Nobel Prize winner, he helped pioneer the Haber process for synthesizing ammonia. This is important, because it was a key ingredient in artificial fertilizer. His actions enabled the world to feed itself, unlocked the chemistry behind allowing us to grow food that outstrips the consumption of humanity. In the 1900s he figured out the chemistry behind allows us to make sure no one died of famine ever again. Providing we put in the input. It was now possible to feed the world thanks to him, and he laid the groundwork for further developments, at a time when much of the world was still illiterate and ruled by kings. He has saved countless lives from hunger. Untold millions. Unlocking a piece of science that changed the face of organic chemistry forever. Then came the First World War. If he were a sorcerer, it would be as if he turned to the darkest of arts. After saving the world, and gifting such an innovation to humanity, he then turned his mind to destroying it. He invented chemical warfare. Designed chemical weapons from scratch, unleashed chlorine gas, and founded an entire dark science that bore the way to sarin, phosphorus, chlorine, and other unholy weapons of war used by war criminals and tyrants for the next century. He led brigades devoted to chemical war, recruited other renowned scientists to his cause, and turned the science most devoted to creation and change for the betterment of humanity into another weapon. I'm a chemist. This science is the most used, visible, and strikes a balance between raw universal forces and physical applications. It is nothing short of the engineering of reality, shaping the universe like clay in our hands. And he used it to kill. On an industrial scale. And thanks to him, there will be no going back. In my mind, he is the greatest fall from grace. From one of humanity's greatest, to one its most forsaken. Jared Fogle. Ian Watkins, former singer of the Welsh emo/rock band Lost Prophets. Massively successful band in the scene. Turns out he dealt meth to fans to abuse them and then rape their babies/toddlers. Yes, you read right. I almost threw up when I read the indictment. Locked away for life, that one. The band has erased all music from all services as far as possible. It's tainted forever. By the time I was a child, Bill Cosby was so universally recognized as an icon of wholesome comedy that one of the most popular kids shows of my youth was literally just a cartoon about his childhood. Now the legacy of that little cartoon show is tainted by the very subject of the show itself. That's a fall from grace. From being trusted to be a part of your kid's formative years, to becoming one of the most vile and disliked men of all time. OJ has to be up there. He was never the biggest star, but Mark Salling's fall from grace was massive. Went from the star of a prime-time show to charged with child porn and dead in a matter of months. Robespierre. Aaron Burr. He was Vice President of the United States when he shot and killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel. The duel killed Burr's political career. He was dropped from Thomas Jefferson's ticket in the 1804 election, and he couldn't even win an election for governor of New York. In 1805, Burr plotted to invade Spanish territories and create his own empire with a side plot to incite a revolution against the United States. In 1807, Burr was put on trial for treason, and he narrowly escaped a conviction. I'm sure there are worse people, but Harvey Weinstein went from being one of the most powerful people in the world, to be completely reviled, and losing everything. This is the guy who had Meryl Streep and Oprah on speed dial, and married to a woman 1000x too attractive for him. He now uses a walker, has lost his fortune and his reputation. And his dick is literally rotting off. In case you didn't know, several of the women who accused him of sexual misconduct all pointed out that he wasn't really interested in sex per se, he just wanted massages. According to some, his hygiene was so poor he developed an infection in his dick, which then rotted the flesh after being left untreated. He basically got gangrene on his genitals and was effectively impotent. Lance Armstrong. Jim Jones. He originally stood up for civil rights, then he became a cult leader. From a civil rights leader to cult murderer who was responsible for more than 900 deaths. Had you asked me a couple of years ago, I'd say Benedict Quisling. He was one of the last men to be given the death penalty in my country, and his last name is listed as a synonym for a cowardly traitor in our dictionary. He essentially sold us out to the Nazis during WW2. The thing is that he was previously seen as a good humanitarian, traveling to other countries to help the poor with Fridtjof Nansen, a national hero who won the Nobel Peace Prize, but it has later been revealed, only a couple of years ago, that he was never a good man from the start, and was in fact always a vile opportunist regardless of what affiliation he needed to have in order to further his own reputation and build his own grandiose sense of self. Under the guise of his humanitarian work, he'd loot values from dead/dying people, and give desperate starving people food scraps or pennies for very expensive valuables, if he didn't just take them. He'd also take advantage of desperate young women. Those who had lost their families were the easiest targets after all. His first wife was a 17-year-old Ukrainian girl named Alexandra. Even his family members were confused about it. He also got a second wife, Maria Quisling, so in addition he was also a bigamist. Seeing the pictures and notes of what he saw in famine-stricken areas just makes what he did worse. In one of his photos he had visited a house with of 2 starving boys, whose parents had presumably died, and the remaining boy in this picture had eaten his 3-year-old brother. Google Holodomor if you don't know about this famine. The thought of this gut-wrenching despair not fazing a man, not making him question what he's doing and just continuing on to prey on people, just makes me sick. I didn't think I could find a literal traitor to my country more deplorable decades after his execution, but learning what an absolutely deplorable opportunistic narcissist he was, just made him even worse. To think that he was a revered humanitarian at one point. I'm glad he was executed. Though I wish they had paraded him around so people could throw tomatoes at him first. Edit. Changed my mind and some details I misremembered from school and added a link detailing some of the information that was revealed last year. https://www. NRK. No/documenter/xl/psychologenes dom over lenses Vikaren Viedken Quisling 1. 154571168. It's in Norwegian, but Google Translate should do. The rest should be a quick Google search away. There are also some thesis papers available, but those are in Norwegian too. Chris Benoit. He was famous as a pro wrestler until he murdered his wife and child. Not the biggest, but Armie Hammer casually outing himself as a cannibal was pretty big. Edit, there is a docu-series about it called House of Hammer. Benedict Arnold would be celebrated as the second most important founding father after George Washington, if not for, well, you know. Kevin Spacey was once my favorite actor, but now I can't look at him the same in any of his works. Edit, if I get one more Reddit silver I'm going to puke in my mouth. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed this video and subscribe to never miss an upload.